And could you please say your name and the media outlet?
My name is Trevor Grundy and I represent Ecumenical News International in Geneva, but I live in Canterbury. I'd really like to direct this question to Archbishop. Sorry, did you hear my name? I'll repeat it again. Trevor Grundy, Ecumenical News International. And I'd like to address this question to the two archbishops, but mainly to John Sentamu. In a post-Robert Mugabe Zimbabwe, and when the Archbishop of York starts wearing his dog collar again, what would you gentlemen like to see Christian missionaries, or would you like to hear Christian missionaries saying to the new Zimbabwean government about extending full Christian and human rights to people who are currently categorized in that country as worse than pigs and dogs?
I think to say that they must rediscover afresh that in every human person, God's image is so imprinted and they're of unique worth. It doesn't matter what they've done or what they haven't done. Every human being is of unique worth and made in the image and likeness of God, and not to treat them with dignity and respect, in my book, is to spit in the face of God. So what I would like to say to those who are working there, whenever you meet another human being, recognize Christ. Take off your shoes. You're walking on holy ground.
I'm not as well qualified as my colleague here to answer that question, perhaps not knowing enough about the background. But insofar as I'm understanding what's being asked, very clear that the Church today is in a world which accepts, acknowledges, has put into law human rights in a way that did not exist before. And the churches are very comfortable with that. In fact, they have inspired it in so many aspects. And fundamental to that Bill of Rights, if you like, or the recognition of human rights, is the recognition of the dignity of every individual. And of course, therefore, I'm entirely with my colleague here in saying that that is a message which must be conveyed. That does not mean that there should be a denial of opinion within the church or out of the church about legislation about this, or the way in one set of rights impacts upon another. And therefore, it's very important to keep in balance the freedom, the freedom of the press, one might say, but I'm talking about really about religious freedom, the freedom of those who are convinced of certain truths, to be able to express those truths, but always, always with respect, with dignity, and the acknowledgement that those who hold contrary views have every right to hold them, if they hold them indeed with conviction and with reciprocal respect.
Philippa Hitchin from Vatican Radio. It's been said at this conference that, in a way, mission is about moving outside our comfort zones into areas that make us feel uncomfortable. 100 years ago, that was the Western, the white world moving out towards Africa and towards Asia, made them feel very uncomfortable. What are the areas that we're looking at today? What are the areas in mission that make us most uncomfortable?
To who is this directed to?
Again, the Archbishop.
Well, I want to say, first of all, I'm very grateful that missionaries left these islands and came to my country, Uganda, and brought good news of Jesus. So they faced enormous difficulty, enormous problems. The first bishop was murdered on his way to Kampala. Within 3 years, 26 young men, 10 Anglican, 16 Roman Catholics were burnt alive by a sadistic king. Has the world changed about that much? I don't think so. And what I would say is that the message of Jesus of love always divides. There are people who will not accept that message. If they did, he would never have been crucified. And so the things that are very difficult to get into out of our comfort zones is what you found in the early church, where there were debates about, for example, circumcision, that nearly divided the church. And it wasn't until the Spirit of God was poured out that actually there should be no burdens given to Gentiles. I mean, I wish actually the council had said, circumcision is not a requirement of faith, but for those who think they need it, well, let them have it as well. But it went a bit, and as you know, Peter could not but on one occasion after that council actually circumcised somebody. And Paul said, I told him to his face not to have done it. So the problems actually which were there are still here. And what is critical, it seems to me, in all of this, could I tell you a Jewish story, which I love, because I think it says it all. A rabbi asked his pupils, how do you know night had ended and dawn was breaking? And one said, is it when you can tell the difference between a dog and a pig? He said, no. Is it when you can tell a fig tree from a mango tree? No, said the rabbi. Then he said, what is it? He said, well, when you look on a face of a woman or a man, and you cannot say, she is your sister and he is your brother, it doesn't matter what time of day it is still night. So the challenge today is recognize that everybody has been so uniquely made and yet sharing a common humanity. Christians have known this. We now know my DNA is not your DNA, but nevertheless, when I give blood, mine happens to be O. It goes into people, and they never identify it as O, Uganda, black. It never does that way. So I think it's a rediscovery of the common humanity, which we do not find easy to accept. And if we did, Mugabe wouldn't be doing what he was doing. Other places would be oppressing other people. Women would be treated with dignity. And it seems to me, yes, we must always disagree, but as long as when we disagree, I still leave that person with great dignity. It seems to me I'm beginning to walk the way of mission, the way of Jesus. Put it another way, the humanization of our faith, make it more human, more understanding, more closer to people than locked up in doctrines and ideas. But I speak as a rebel maybe.